Hey, big head.
So when you went to Washington D.C., did you enroll in another college? Were you doing the more working odd jobs, or what exactly was happening when you made that move?
All right, so here's another attempt at getting into higher education. So my father, who lived in Detroit, and reconnected with me during my trial, and said, "What do you want to do, honey?" I said, "Daddy, I want to go to school." He said, "Well, I know everybody at Howard University. You want to go to Howard?" I was like, "Uh-huh." Yes, I do. I want to go to Howard. He said, "All right, bet." He said, "Send in all your applications and stuff. I got you covered." And it just so happened that a friend of mine was living in Maryland and said that I could room with her. Mm-hmm. And so for that semester, I was on Howard's campus. And
that's amazing. That's amazing.
The fashion show is real. Can I just?
Yeah. What was your experience like in Howard? How was that?
There is culture shock. There is social culture shock. And then there's fashion culture shock, because I'm coming from California in the 70s, where you have your everyday jeans, your dress jeans.
Right. All had the crease,
Sharp enough. But coming to Howard, mm-hmm. people fell out of Vogue magazine and then went to class. I had never seen anything like it. And lunchtime on the quad was like, well, where are the damn cameras? It was just amazing. I have vivid memories of the pledges and the lines, but I also remember how pretty the campus was, and being in the library and taking sociology from Black people, and taking mm-hmm. English from Black people, and science from Black people, and being in the arts department and just seeing all of this everyday culture that people just took for granted. Mm-hmm. And to someone who doesn't come from that, it is an embarrassment of riches. It's like, y'all don't understand how much you have, right? Because you've never been without it.
Right.
So
you were a sponge. You
oh my goodness.
Soaking all that up. Yeah.
Soaking all of that up until I started getting calls from the financial aid office asking where my payment was. Only to find out that my father paid not one single solitary penny. And my family didn't have it. And they were like, "We told you about your daddy." I was like, "I know you did." I know, but come on home, Tama, we got you. And then something said, "Nope, I'm not coming home."
You're going to make it work.
I made it work. I was tight with my sociology teacher. She helped me find a job. She got me a little studio apartment above a dentist office next to a KFC, which was my studio and my space. And I got a job in the Watergate building, and I made it work. And eventually met and married my first husband and made it work.
And were you still majoring in journalism when you went to DC?
Yeah.
Still majoring. And is that where you ultimately got your degree?
No, I didn't get my degree.
So you ended up dropping out of Howard as well?
I had to.
Was it because the expenses was kind of piling up for you?
I couldn't pay for the semester I was in, much less any semesters going forward.
Right.
And so to make the decision of, if I go back home, I give up everything. But if I stay here, I can at least figure out a career and figure out what to do. And, oh God, I'll take you one more dark place. So the guy next door, who I fell in love with, and he was in a group home. They were all just kind of hanging out, a bunch of roommates together. But he and I clicked, and I got pregnant, and I was overjoyed, and I told him, this does not mean you have to stay. If you want to stay and you want to make this family thing work, let's do that. If this is too much for you, I got this. But he was like, no, this is amazing. And we had decided that we were going to have home birth. And
ooh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So let me tell you about a home birth. It's amazingly empowering because you're in control of the environment. And you get to decide how you're going to labor. And it was perfect. We had a boy, and he was named after me, except with an N. So his name was Taman Philip Jackson. And and Pete at the time, strict vegan, but now he's got a family. And so he went to work at IHOP, and he hated the thought of working at IHOP, but he now had a family. So he was going back and forth. And so, we're that whole first week, we're getting used to being a family and having the baby. Taman had developed jaundice. And when you breastfeed a baby, jaundice tends to stay around longer. We didn't know that at the time. And then jaundice can be progressive, when you press your fingers on the skin and it comes back, it's yellow. And so, you probably want to go and take him to the doctor and see what's going on. Because if the jaundice level gets high enough, they want to put the baby in the hospital under the plant lights to help break down the excess blood in his system, which is what they said we needed to do on that Friday. They said, yeah, you probably need to just take him to Washington Hospital Center, put him in the isolette. And we did. And my mom and her husband had flown out to see the baby. And since we knew they were coming out, and I had wanted to stay with him overnight, but there wasn't any place for me to be. So I said, okay, well, we're going to go Saturday morning. We're going to go shopping, get some supplies. They said, yeah, baby's doing better. You can come and see him. And so went shopping Saturday, came back, dropped the food off at the house, at the apartment, and went to the hospital center to see what his progress was. And we were met at the door by a couple of nurses, and said, okay, well, Jackson's, here to see the baby. Well, he's not here. Okay, well, where is he? He developed a fever. Okay, fever, bet, where is he? He's in the intensive care unit. Why? He developed a fever. We couldn't get his temperature down. Long story short, the isolette that they put him in had been malfunctioning, and the temperature gauge was off. And during the night, the temperature rose to over 100 degrees. And they noticed that Taman was kind of lethargic. And so they opened up the panel and pulled him out and sponged him down. And then they put him back in the same isolette. And it malfunctioned again. And when they found him, the temperature in the isolette was like 105. And so when I finally got to the NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, they had the little crown thing around his head, and it looked like he was being crucified because he had the thing around his head. He had tubes coming out of his wrists, and he had little tubes coming out of his little tiny body. He was 7 days old. And the doctor said, we're doing everything we can to try and save him. We don't know what happened. We didn't find out about the isolate until later. At this point, they're just saying, we don't know, we don't know, we don't know. And they said, there's really not a whole lot that you can do, just, pray. And I remember Pete saying to me, all we have to do is get him past this. We can fix it. We know enough holistic medicine. Once he gets on the other side of this, we can make it work. And so they sent us home. And then that Sunday morning, we got a call from the hospital, said, you should probably come and be with the baby because he's not going to make it.
Wow.
And it was Father's Day. And just as the sun was coming up, we got to the hospital center and they let us come into the room where he was. And I said, can we hold him? And they said, yeah. I said, take everything off of him. And they did. And somewhere between Pete holding him and me holding him, he died. And I remember watching the heart monitor go from 32 to 18 to 6.